Welcome back to One-on-One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U. In studio with us today, marketing strategist, business consultant, and entrepreneur coach, Brian Kurian's in the house, man. My guy, how you doing, man? You can't freeze in the intro. You froze on me. I can't hear the great things you're going to say about the intro I just gave you. Live podcasting is beautiful. All right, well, you are frozen, brother, so we need to get you back in here so we can start our conversation. You are still frozen. All right, Brian, if you can't go out and come back in, see if we can get us a restart. While Brian's going back out, when I said marketing strategist and business consultant and a coach to entrepreneurs, I mean that wholeheartedly. He's done all those things and then some. He also does grant writing and ghostwriting as well. The man, he knows marketing and he knows sales and he knows how to build a business. So if you guys are watching and listening to our show, Brian will be back in a minute. And you are definitely free to reach out, drop comments and questions here in the live chat. We'll set up something at the end of the episode where you can reach out to him directly for his services. Very reasonable, and he definitely knows what he's doing. He's an expert in his field of interest. So definitely would love for you to try to get in connection with him. All right, so we're waiting on Brian to get back in.
Hello.
All right. The wonders of live podcasting, man. It never fails, but I'm never bored, man. This is all good to me.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I'm just talking about what you do, but let's get into it. Let's talk about what you actually been doing. So
Yeah.
I talked about the marketing strategy, the business consulting, the coach to entrepreneurs, and just three other things that you still do. So
Yeah.
let's use our time wisely to kind of jump into this conversation. But what I was saying before you got on was that anybody that's listening and watching, I want them to be able to be free to drop comments and questions in the live chat for you here, so you can answer those straight away. And if we don't get to those, at the end of the show, we'll have you drop into the YouTube channel where the episode is on the channel. And in the comment section, you have all your links in there so they can reach out to you, ask you any questions, and connect with you on some of these areas that you are definitely an expert at. So
Sure.
love to get into those. But I love to hear how the entrepreneurship journey kind of started for you. Where did it come from?
Yeah, I think a big part of me, I was one of I tell everybody this that wants to know, but I was one of those very, very few kids that kind of always knew what I wanted to do.
Wow, that is rare.
Quote unquote, what I wanted to be when I grow up, right? People my mom and dad will back me up on this because they saw me do it consistently. Man, ever since I was about 6 years old, if you would have asked me back then, anybody that would, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you go to college, well, in our culture, it's not really if you're going to go to college, it's when you go to college.
When.
Right. When, and like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be an engineer? And I didn't want any of those things, man. And a lot of my friends would always say, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a scientist. I want to go to the NBA. I want to be the NFL. I want to be a famous actor. No, dude, I was just like, I want to own my own business. And so it was
there you go.
It was the strangest thing. It was the strangest thing for a lot of folks. They'd be like, what in the world are you talking about, man? Why would you want to do that? And like, what's making you say that? And so everybody just always kind of, especially my parents, my relatives, my close friends, they always were just kind of waiting for me to change my answer.
Oh, okay.
Because in our family, we didn't have anybody that I know of who was an entrepreneur. There was nobody that could counsel me or disciple me or mentor me on, the ins and outs of having a business, scaling it, all the ups and downs that most of us, out there that have a business have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. There was no one to ask.
Oh yeah.
And that's just the way it was. My mom very unofficially had basically like a babysitting business, if you want to call it that. She would babysit, family friends' kids, if they were in our church or in our local community, stuff like that. Typically, they were also South Indian kids. So she wouldn't even have set prices. She just pay me what you can. I'll watch them while you work. I love kids. She would have done it for free if my dad would have let her. But we also had bills to pay, right? So my dad's like, no, you're going to charge for this if you're going to sit here with 3 kids at a time or 4 toddlers at a time and a baby and this and that, and they're going to be in our house and you're taking care of them as if they're your own children. You are going to charge for that. This is not like an actual family member. We can't do this for free. So I don't even know what she charged, but it wasn't very much at all. But it's what I always wanted, man. I mean, I had lemonade stands, as funny as it sounds, but I had lemonade stands when I was a kid, in the neighborhood. There's a few summers, especially that like some of my friends and I would set up our lemonade stand, down the sidewalk in front of one of our houses, and the people on the block would, drive by, throw us a quarter for a couple lemonade. And I just thought it was so neat. I think the biggest thing I like in it too, and what really set me on the path, was doing that, having those lemonade stands. It was the first time really that I can remember where I felt a tremendous amount of joy from doing something for someone else because it made them happy, right? And so seeing other people smile, being useful to them, fine, earning a quarter or $1, whatever we made that day. Yeah, that was just a bonus for me. We would use it for little candies or go to the party store and get some gum or chips or something cool. And we'd ride our bike there and we'd feel so, so independent because we were buying stuff with the money that we made, that day. But then I started doing like some odd jobs and chores for the neighbors. I'd help them organize their garage. I'd rake their leaves. I might shovel their driveway. I grew up in Michigan, so a lot of snow. And they'd throw me a couple of bucks here and there. And again, I wasn't doing it for the money per se. I liked being useful. I liked knowing that they trusted me to come into their home and help them with things. And I wasn't just another kid that played with their kids. Like I was actually the kid that they felt comfortable depending on, for little things here and there. And so I got treated really well, honestly, by all the parents, because I didn't just take up space. I wanted to be useful to them, and I told you that when we first met. That's kind of like one of the pillars of my existence, right? Is how can I be useful to you and other people? I don't want to just be transactional and I'll do this for you if you pay me this much, and then when that job's done, have a nice life. Let me know when you need something else, and I'll ask you for money for that too. But being of value, being of service, being useful, that's where it all started for me. That was like 30 years ago.
Awesome. No, that's awesome, man. I love it. We got a lot to get into, and hopefully we have the time to do so.
Sure.
We got a lot of questions for you, but we'll see what we can do here. All right, but you are, in a way, you're like me because you've done a lot of different things and you got a lot of hats that you've worn.
Sure.
I'm talking about from everything I named at the start of the show, even to grant writing, ghostwriting, and a lot of other things that you are involved in.
Yeah.
What do you think, briefly, if you can, what do you think is the value of all these professional experiences? I was talking to a friend earlier on a live interview, and we were just talking about that, how jack of all trades has such a bad meaning throughout previous decades. It wasn't looked at as a good thing.
Right.
I'm coming into my own with this and recognizing that, what? It was very good. It provided a lot of context and experience and helps me to navigate things that I'm dealing with in life right now. But for you, what do you think of the value of all these different professional experiences that you've had? What's the value in that to you?
It's been invaluable. I've worked in so many different industries, and I hate the term or the phrase jack of all trades, master of none. You are a jack of all trades and a master of none if you didn't consistently work on your craft. And the people that I saw that would become that jack of all trades, quote unquote, master of none, would learn one skill set or profession or industry, get bored, and then hop to the next one. And then, I've done that for 6 months. This is boring, man. No more challenge. I'm going to hop to this one. And so, we're trained now to where we have, shiny object syndrome, where this thing looks cool, this thing looks fun. I think I
Oh,
can make
shiny.
money. Right. I think I can make money drop shipping, and then I'm going to have an Etsy store, and I'm going to do this and do that. So where are you really the most useful? Where are you actually proficient and like highly skilled? Well, you don't give anything enough time to bake in the oven, so to speak. You're just throwing stuff in the microwave and just scarfing it down, right? So what value are you getting out of that meal, truly? So the value I have seen that I've been able to offer clients in a nutshell is whether they need that sales help, where they need to think like a salesperson and a marketing professional, or they need help with the actual ghostwriting and crafting of the story, right? And get it to actually land with their ideal clients. Most salespeople don't know the first thing about copywriting or ghostwriting. Most copywriters and ghostwriters typically do not know the basics, or at the very least, don't feel comfortable getting out there and quote end quote selling. These are two different human beings from my experience. They have different skill sets. One wants to talk to you, one wants to write to you. Very rarely does that same person want to do both. But in that Venn diagram of that intersection of those two human beings, you'll find me. I love doing both, and I'm extremely proficient at both. And I see the value in doing both. So I didn't get bored with sales or bored with ghostwriting or copywriting and all this other stuff. I gave all of them enough of a chance to marinate and sit on the grill, so to speak. I'm really hungry. I'm sorry. All these food analogies.
Yeah, please stop doing that. Please, I haven't eaten yet, so please just quit that right away. Thank you.
So sorry. No, but just letting that stuff marinate, right? Letting your skills actually develop to a point where you can serve people at the highest level, right?
Makes sense.
I'm someone that I always want to see how far can I take this thing? What is the highest level that I can go? And I try to pursue that, right? I don't quote unquote get bored and then go jump to the next thing. I have in the past when I was younger. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to be much more patient.
Absolutely. So it's clear that entrepreneurship is important to you. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
How would you now? I know the people who are listening to our show, I know some of them pretty personally. I want to get into scaling a business and of course some of your culture and your background. I want to get into a lot of that stuff as much time as we have anyway, which is not a whole lot. Sure. And then of course some financial independence ideas you have. But I want to talk to you about the idea of how you encourage somebody to have something for themselves and why you think that's important. Yeah. A lot of folks that we know, maybe some that are even on this call, a lot of them want to have a podcasting as a business. They want to have something outside of their job, outside of the cubicle, because they recognize that anything just tied to their day job is a bit constricting. So how would you briefly share with them about why entrepreneurship is important? Why not why you did it, but why you think they should do it as somebody who's seen and sat with so many entrepreneurs in your time doing this? How would you encourage them? How would you speak to them?
Yeah, I think the easiest way I can articulate it is when you work for someone, which I I did for 20 years, literally.
We all have.
We all have, right? Pretty much all of us have. But when your paycheck and your schedule and your things that you can do during that work schedule and etc., and so many aspects of your life are constantly and consistently controlled by other people, it is incredibly limiting to you as far as being able to, from my experience, explore your own passions, your own skill sets that you may or may not want to sharpen, or new skills you may or may not want to learn. Seeking other people who could benefit you and vice versa.
Sure.
You know, in acquiring those types of goals that you might not even know you have yet. So if you're just working a job and just focusing on that job, and your vision is like this because you're thinking inside of that cubicle. P.S. I used to have a cubicle job for over 2.5 years, right? So I know what it's like. That little bubble that you're in gets real cozy because you don't have to do much or think about much outside of that little, area, so to speak.
It's a trap for sure.
It very much is a trap. You become chained to that desk. And so I just encourage everybody not necessarily to think of it in terms of, well, if I start a side hustle or a business, I can earn X amount more money. If you're doing the right things, it's going to happen for you anyways. And if you're serving the right people, that's going to happen for you anyways. But for me, the skills and the life lessons and the journey of it all, the experiences, the human beings that I've been able to meet and collaborate with and become friends with, partners with, etc. That's where the real value has been for me. And I tell everybody, before I dealt with my layoffs, my God, if I was and I know I didn't do it because I had all the excuses in the world, and I probably lacked the maturity and the wherewithal to do a business full time in that moment in time. But if I would have launched this business 3, 4, 5 years ago, man, I would have been way better off. Now, hindsight's always 20/20. It's easy for me to say that now, right? Because look how happy I am. Look, I have 2 companies. Look, I get to do stuff like this with people like you on my time, right? On my own terms. But if you don't have something just for yourself, like a business, a side hustle, some passion project, something like that, you're really doing yourself a disservice. That is my very firm belief.
I love it. I love it. Now, we talked a lot offline about entrepreneurship and parenting and the juggling of these 2 balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have some, like I said, some friends that are either watching this live or they're going to be watching the replay. And I know that they're parents. I know that they're entrepreneurs. They want to build something of their own, so that way they can spend that time with their kids and their family and not spending away from home working 12, 16-hour gigs. So I'm really going to appreciate your answer to this. Yeah. How did you manage being a present parent and growing a business, or in your case, 2 businesses, and not dropping either one of these balls, assuming you haven't dropped either one?
Well, I'm not perfect, right? There are moments, people look at me like, I think the idea of me, I spoke about this with one of my brand new book clients, because I ghostwrite a lot of books for folks. He nailed it. He said the idea that people have of me and my wife is the fallacy. It's a figment of their imagination, because the illusion they see is what they want to see, right? They're looking at us and they're saying, look at all these businesses they have. They look so happy. Their marriage is so stable and they're healthy and they're in great shape and their kids are loving and kind-hearted. They have so much going on for them. Why can't I have that? Or how do I achieve this mythical fantasy life that they have? And the funny thing is that you don't see all the nonsense I deal with on a day-to-day basis. You don't see the ups and the downs. You don't see when people don't pay their invoice and they try to string me along, or stuff happens in their life that's out of their control and that affects my family's finances, or clients don't communicate, or they try to treat me poorly or disrespect me and they're not even working with me yet and try to trespass on my boundaries, and I'm trying to enjoy dinner with my family and my phone's blowing up because this person needs help or that, and I'm trying to focus on my kid, I'm trying to focus on my wife, I'm trying to be a decent dad and a husband, and there's all these things tugging at me. And I think the biggest. I
didn't mean to trigger you, man. I'm like, you gonna be okay?
I'm good.
I'm so sorry. That's not my goal. Was not to sing you off the deep end, man.
I'm not spiraling. Okay? I'm not spiraling. I'm just telling people how it is.
I'm like, wow, what's getting ready to happen here live? What's getting ready to happen?
It's all. I'm glad
you're okay.
No, it's all good. I think the biggest thing I try to do is, I have had to work through some trust issues that I personally have, where I've been burned by people in the past. And thankfully, with my business partner and the people that we have on my teams, I have had to learn how to do a much better job of delegating. So instead of Brian trying to take on all the work myself, where I am working 10, 12 hours a day like I used to, or close to it. Sometimes I work, working on the weekends. I do little stuff in between, like, okay, my son's napping, I'm going to do this, respond to this email. Delegating more, letting other people shine. I'm letting other people play to their strengths. It's so important to have a good team behind you. It's so important to have a mentor. It's so important to not be afraid to ask for help, but you got to be willing to coach people and train them and articulate your expectations, and not blow up at people when they don't meet your expectations because you didn't articulate it properly, right? That's a communication issue that you have, and you need to work on that. That's not a lot of times that's not a talent issue or a skill issue or a motivation issue that they have. That's a you problem. And so you got to work through that. And I've had to grow up. I've had to fix
that's good, man. No, that's good. And that's a great segue into my next question, because I want to get to a little bit about the scaling. I reckon I have discussions with people. Some may even be watching right now, perhaps. I've had discussions about scaling business and what that looks like and why it's important and everything. And I think to some degree, people just don't, either they can't understand it in general, or they have so many trust issues that they can't release, like you said, delegate what they know how to do to somebody else. That means they have to train and develop and then let them do it without you sitting there watching. I have a friend who has multiple businesses, and her phone, like you said, is ringing off the hook at all times of the day and afternoon and night, because she won't trust them with it, or they're just not competent enough to do what she's put into their hands. But what do you think is the biggest nugget in scaling a business that you can share with our listeners and viewers? And along with that, kind of share what you think scaling a business should look like, regardless of the business. We got podcasters out here, we got content creators out here, we got people who are starting their own landscaping businesses that are watching and listening. So a lot of different things going on there. How would you scale your own business, and what do you think is the biggest nugget in doing so?
The biggest nugget, the biggest nugget for me is, and I'll give you a very, very quick example. This happened just a couple of months ago when me, my wife, and our 4-year-old son took a quick, week, almost a week and a half vacation to Michigan. We live in North Carolina. We went to Michigan to visit my parents and my sister. And some of my other relatives still live back home in Michigan. And we wanted to see them and just kind of unplug, for a week. I'll tell you right now, if I would have done that trip about a year ago, the entire time, or like 80 to 90% of that time, I'd be on my phone, I'd be doing client calls, working. It would not be a vacation. And I would be very much like, well, if I'm not going to do it, who is? Which was the truth. It was just me, myself, and I during that time, right? And so this time around, I delegated, majority of the projects to various team members, checked in with my partner, who's also project manager for a lot of the projects, made sure everything was running smoothly. I told all the clients, hey, going to Michigan to see my parents. If it's an emergency, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always going to be here for you to support you, but I'm very much trying to be present for my family and my close friends that I'm trying to catch up with. I don't see these people enough. So if we could just be mindful of that, that would be terrific. Love you guys. I'll be back in a week and a half. You'll blink and I'll be back to work, right? That's my life. And it was fantastic. For those of you that don't have a team in place, or you feel like your current team can't handle a lot of the work, they're not competent, they don't seem to care, it's got to always be you. Again, that is a you problem. You need to work on communicating and training them properly so that you have the utmost confidence in them. Create some training videos of best practices of how to do this thing or that thing or this aspect of the business. You can create free videos on Loom. I do, and I send them out. So that answers a lot of questions. And then they leave comments on the Loom video if they have a question, right?
Okay. I got one for you right now, because I heard what you said.
Okay.
Definitely accurate. No issues there at all. I want you to tailor your answer to the people who don't have a team yet.
Perfect.
Who didn't even know they should have a team until you just said it.
Yep.
How do they manage that? You recognize they may have limited income. Yep. But they know that them going, whether they own their own bake shop, whatever the case may be, landscaping, whatever it is, they know they can't keep doing this on their own, just being, like Bob's Burgers. And if Bob goes down, guess what happens to the burger place?
Burns down.
Everything goes down, because Bob is doing the plumbing. Bob is doing customer service. He's doing he's the complaint board. He speaks to the to the landlord. Bob is doing all that stuff. So if Bob goes down, Bob Burgers is toast. So speak to that person who doesn't have a team yet. How do they do that? How would you suggest that they build a team? If you can't share that.
Yeah, absolutely. First things first, to all of my readers out there, and if you're not a reader, please work on that. There's so much knowledge in these books. I'm not trying to pick at you. I'm just telling you, you're missing out on a lot. There is a wonderful book written by a gentleman who is incredibly successful as an entrepreneur, scaled multiple multi-million-dollar businesses. His name is Dan Martell. He wrote a big book called Buy Back Your Time, which speaks to this topic that we're talking about right now. So the first person, the most, in my opinion, essential hire that you can make in your business is an admin person, someone to help answer the phone, book appointments for you, do your invoicing, basic accounting and bookkeeping, all of those menial, mundane, non-creative, low-level tasks that you can offload. They tend to be one of the cheapest hires you can make. Now, many of you are probably shaking your head saying, I probably can't afford it. Everything's coming out of my wallet. Brian, how much is that person going to cost? Because I probably can't afford it.
Yeah.
It anyways. Even minimum wage is like $15 an hour, right? So many of you are shaking your head that you'd rather just do it yourself and save your dollars. Well, many of you can easily hire a virtual assistant who lives in a different country, the Philippines, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, different places like that, where literally for anywhere between $5 to $8 an hour, you can get a top-notch person that can take those calls and will work while they'll work your schedule, even though they're in a different time zone. So they'll work it, it'd be odd hours for you, odd hours for them, but they'll take those calls, they'll send those emails, they'll follow up with customers, they'll send out your invoices and making sure they're paid, et cetera, so that you won't have to. So you can keep working the miracles of business development, finding new clients, growing your book of business, brand building, doing stuff like this, like getting your face out there and spreading the good word about what you do, who you help, and how you serve them. Spend a couple of dollars an hour, man. You won't understand how much you can scale and grow until that type of annoying stuff that you hate doing, but you need to do it, gets done by someone else. And you can just have a lot more mental clarity to focus on the really important stuff that maybe they can't handle. And that's okay. That's where you come in. You get to be the star, right?
Well, I'm definitely willing to take the advice that I'm getting. If you're listening, you're watching, Brian knows what he's talking about. I'm sure he's happy to reshare that book on our YouTube channel once we're done with the episode, once we're done going live, because I'm going to read that book myself. I heard about books like this, but I haven't heard of this one, so I'll be getting a copy myself for sure.
He talks about the essential hires, the people.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of things, and yeah, I could use the help. But one thing I know we're kind of up against it now time wise, so I really want to spend time in two specific places.
Great.
One, I want people to be able to find out where your stuff is and how you're willing to help.
Yep.
Give you a chance to kind of market yourself on this platform. But the first thing I want to ask you about is the question of financial independence. I've been in communities and I've been engaged with business ventures where that's been the goal, financial independence. People talk about it. It's become a catchphrase at this point. People say, I want to be financially independent. What does that mean? That means I want to stay home and eat hot Cheetos and watch Maury all day. What does that actually mean? So, I guess my question goes out like, is financial independence the goal? Do you have it now for those that are watching and listening? And are you in the right road to it at least? But I want you to speak to financial independence. How do you help people who have a desire to be financially independent? They come to you and they got a quick view of all that you do, all the services you provide, and they need 2 or 3 of these services because they've been doing it on their own all this time. And you ask them what their goal is, and their answer is, I want to be financially independent. What are you saying to those people who are watching and listening, or that come to you and say, I want to be financially independent? Brian, can you help me? What are you saying?
I only say one thing, and I say why, and then I just stop talking. Because I learned a long time ago, I know nothing about you until you tell me. And so you can say catchwords and buzzwords to me like, I want to be financially independent, I want to be rich, I want to have a multi-million-dollar business. You can say stuff like that to me, and I'll say, cool. I mean, doesn't everybody want that? But why do you want that? And what do you mean by that? And then people will start saying, well, my mom's really sick, and I'm chained to this job because it pays me well and it allows me to take care of her, but I'm miserable here. If I could have something for myself that could also earn some extra income that I could really build and grow, I would also like to use that money to take care of my mom. And it would be nice to have something to pass on to my children if they end up wanting to be involved in the business. If not, that's okay. I'll sell it to someone else that is competent and would be passionate about carrying on, the business. I need to know what does financial independence mean to you, right? And another thing is, how do you plan on getting there? Right? Because a lot of us we think about, I'm a big football fan, I'm a Ravens fan. We think about, I want to score a touchdown. All right. You're allowed to vote. That's fine.
I'm just kidding. Keep going. They're fine. Keep going.
I would just say,
I don't hate them. Keep going.
I would just say, I got the ball. Of course, I want to score a touchdown. I want to score a touchdown every time I touch the ball. But what plays am I going to call to get down the field, man? And also, it does actually matter what plays the defense is going to call to try to stop me. No one's just going to let me sprint down the field every time I got the ball and be like a Derrick Henry and run 80 yards to the pay dirt, right? That just doesn't happen for most of us, especially, I hate playing this card, but if you're a person of color, that's going to happen to you a lot less, where you're just going to get handed the ball and there's your freebie, go make your money, so-and-so.
Oh, Brian.
So, sorry, had to say
what kind of Pandora's box are you opening up here today, Brian?
A lot of you might be able to relate to that. Some of you won't, but that's okay. You gotta.
Oh, goodness.
You gotta understand what skills you need to have to make that quote unquote financial independence goal actually happen. For me, I felt like I was excellent at sales. I had done it for several years, but I knew I didn't want to be boxed in there. So 5, almost 6 years ago, I started learning about blogging. I started doing that, freelance writing. I got into copywriting coaching, ghostwriting, and then I started taking as high as I could, right? And now these are the things I'm doing in my business, along with the sales training and the business coaching and all this other stuff that I learned along the way. But I knew I was missing certain skills, and I had to go acquire them. So that's what you'll have to do for yourself too.
Oh, I love that. Financial independence, again, that's just, there's a lot to it. It's a journey. It's not a quick fix to the to get there. It's a journey. It's about empowering yourself, educating yourself, and learning. But you offer a lot of services. Well, first of all, before we do that, I always ask this question traditionally of all of our guests.
Sure.
Almost let you out of it, but I can't do that. Okay. So everybody comes on our show, I ask the same question. They have to think about it a little bit. But if I take off of the table everything you're doing with your business services, I'm talking about the ghostwriting, I'm talking about the copywriting, I'm talking about the consulting, everything off of the table.
Okay.
What's Brian doing with his life right now, do you think? Career, vocation-wise, what's a mission? What would he be involved with that he's not involved with right now in any capacity?
Oh, man. Oh, I love that question. So if I know the answer right away. It's actually very near and dear to my heart. If I wasn't doing the ghostwriting and the consulting and all the other cool stuff that I do, between the two companies, honestly, I would very much be heavily involved in constructing a hospital that offers free care to folks who are suffering from cancer and leukemia, especially children. It would be free for anyone, and it would be world class. And while I'm very aware that we won't be able to save everybody that comes through there, I would be working my butt off to save as many people as I could, to help them get healthy and get back to being able to live life the way they want to. And I would be putting a majority of my time in there, along with, of course, spending quality time with my wife and my son, soon to be another son. In the next couple of months, we'll have another boy.
Congrats, brother. Congrats, man.
Thank you. And traveling with them, of course, having fun. But I'm very much of the mind that I have zero desire, and it's okay if other people do. It's not my life, but I have zero desire to ever fully check out and quote unquote retire. I don't want to be on the golf course. I don't want to be spending my days golfing. I don't want to be on the couch. I don't want to I don't want to ride off into the sunset.
I got you. I
don't. I want to be useful. I need to make a difference until, unfortunately, I don't get to be around anymore. That's just me.
That answer is amazing. That's probably one of the best answers, the most thoughtful answers I ever heard since doing this show. I hope you still do it, because I'm blown away by that one, brother. Awesome stuff, man.
Appreciate it.
So I want to give you a couple of minutes, man, to share how people can take their skills to the next level, or use and leverage what you know and what you do to kind of build their profile, build their skill set, or just take their businesses to another level.
Yeah.
Floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to connect with me would probably be through my website. It's super simple. It's briancuriansbusinessservices.com. So just my business name.com, briancuriansbusinessservices.com. You can submit a contact form through there. Let me know how I can help you. It'd be my pleasure to serve you any way I can. I'm on LinkedIn. You can just search Brian Kurian, Brian. Last name's Kurian, Kurian. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. Got on TikTok recently, so you'll even see content there. Man, yeah, we do copywriting coaching, we do consulting, ghostwriting, grant writing. If your business needs help, securing grants, getting some extra funding. In my other business, we do a lot with like website development, graphic design, book publishing, book marketing. Whereas in my primary business, I do a lot with like the ghostwriting of books and copy editing, formatting, stuff like that. So between both companies, we have a lot of really good synergies and full service solutions that we can offer for folks. And we'd love to work with you. Typically we work with entrepreneurs, solopreneurs. Those tend to be my people. But I also love working with nonprofit owners, because they're, I'm trying to do a lot of good in the world too. And those folks tend to be of that same mind, where they're doing the best they can to make the world a better place. So yeah, we'd love to serve you and your family.
I love it, man. Thanks for being on here with us. As I said earlier in the show, on our YouTube channel, in the comment section right under this episode, it was already live. I'd love for you, Brian, after we jump offline, to jump in there, drop your website so they can reach out to you pretty easily. If you want to share any more information beyond the website, you feel free to do it in the comment section. I want people to be able to find your stuff in case they didn't hear it just now.
Cool.
But thank you for doing this. Your time is, I learned so much from you just by sitting and hearing this, and your dream, your goal. My last question, I see you in a whole different light, brother. You stand up, man. And I appreciate knowing you, man, and having you on one-on-one, man. So thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all. Thanks for listening.
Nah, the pleasure's mine. The pleasure's mine. And of course, everybody, thanks for watching and listening. Follow us on my YouTube channel at They Call Me Mr. U, of course, and all the socials. And They Call Me Mr. U.buzzsprout.com. You can find all of our episodes all the way back to the beginning in 2020. And anyway, you want to reach out, by all means, love to hear from you guys about what you thought about the show. So thanks again for doing this. And Brian and Mr. U, we're out of here. Have a good one, guys.